He is on your right with Grixis mid-range. Steven Noga is on your left with mono green aggro. He's got that splash of black in there probably, right?
Just for scrap heaps.
Yep, just for scrap heaps and maybe some Hour Glories in the sideboard.
Pretty standard sideboard here of 12 mana base here of 12 Forest, the 8 green-black duels and Woodland Cemetery and Blooming March, and then 4 copies of the Oasis.
This mono green deck might seem like the little kid deck, but it actually is a pretty powerful one as there's a Greenbelt Rampager. Gonna give Steven Noga an energy. Now, Greenbelt Rampager, a card we will take a look at. That elephant is a kind of a weird one as Lossett starts things off with a Dragon Skull Summit. But what you can think of Greenbelt Rampager is basically a 3-mana 3/4, weirdly, but it also has some favorable interactions with that card, Heart of Kiran. So there is your 1-mana 3/4. When Greenbelt Rampager enters the battlefield, you pay 2 energy. You can't. It's not you may. You have to. If you can't, you return Greenbelt Rampager to your hand and you get an energy.
This design is trying too hard.
Oh, okay.
It's a little forced, but you essentially get a 3-mana 3/4 you can spread across a couple turns, and then there's weird energy synergies and nombos pulling in both directions.
Yes. Yes. So we're going to see the Rampager here again. The trigger will go on, and I'm going to see if he wants to activate the Heart of Kiran with the trigger on. It looks like he does not. So now he'll play the Rampager again, and now he'll turn on the Heart of Kiran. So one thing you can do with that Rampager interaction is you can play the Rampager with the energy trigger on the stack, tap it, turn on the Heart of Kiran, and then he could replay it untapped.
Right.
That's one of the things that Steven could have done that turn. Did not have to do that, but did fire up the Heart of Kiran, got in for 4 points of damage. Lossett's down to 16. Lossett will just pass the turn back now. So we'll go back over to Steven Noga. He will draw a card. This will be a Hassep Oasis. 3 mana here. And we have ourselves a Steel Leaf Champion, perhaps. That'll be countered via Supreme Will. I think we're going to see that old elephant getting that ship come across here for 4. So that's going to fall down to 12. The thing about mono green aggro, Patrick, is it's going to present a real threat every single turn.
Right, but I don't know if trying to get it done with Heart of Kiran here is necessarily the easiest way to do it, as it allows Lossett to sort of, if that Heart of Kiran was kind of any 2-mana play at all, I think his position would be a lot better here. But now Lossett, he can try to pick apart Noga's follow-up plays, only take 4 damage a turn, and hopefully be able to stabilize.
This is going to be a copy of Nicol Bolas the Ravager. Let's get that bad boy on the screen, as there will be a discard trigger here. More importantly, Seti's board's getting a stamp, new Elder Dragon on the battlefield. Boom. We're all tied up. There is Nicol Bolas the Ravager. 1 blue, black, red, 4/4 flyer. When it enters the battlefield, each opponent discards a card. 4 blue, black, red. You can exile and turn into a Planeswalker, but we'll get to the Planeswalker half if it comes up. Save a little something for you viewers at home. This card's obviously pushed.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, when you tack Ravenous Rats on this sort of thing to make sure that if it resolves, they get their money, even if there's a removal spell, that's trying hard to push this thing.
Yeah. But you got to work for it. Got to play for colors.
For sure.
Yeah.
And it's not the worst design to push, I don't think. But that is definitely a declaration of we're trying.
We're going to see a Blossoming Defense here. That means that the Heart of Kiran is going to defeat the Nicol Bolas in battle by turning it into a 6/6. Unfortunately for Joe Lossett, no follow-up play there from Steven Noga.
Yep, good news. If Lossett can just piece together a couple more removal spells, he should be in a commanding position.
Even something like a Galta could have come down that turn and been trouble for Lossett, as that Heart of Kiran was a 6/6. The Green Rampager is a 3-power creature. 6 + 3 is 9. 12 - 9 is 3. Does have the appropriate mana to cast it, but apparently doesn't have it in hand. Field of Ruin will be the play. I think we're going to see a copy of the Scarab God here. And we will actually see a copy of Liliana Death's Majesty. Excuse me. That is going to bring back Nicol Bolas. Trigger.
Ravenous Rat him again.
Make you discard. There goes a forest.
Sick.
Gonna grind you down. Now Steven will draw. Steven really needs a creature to turn on this Heart of Kiran, so both creatures could potentially attack here. Though I suppose Greenbelt Rampager much worse now at attacking.
Right. No, Noga needs some help to be able to attack with that. And if Lossett can just trade off the Nicol Bolas with any card, it doesn't really matter what, Noga's just running out of resources to play the game with. And if Lossett can defend this Planeswalker for a few turns, even setting aside whatever he's got left over in his hand, that should be enough.
Well, this isn't an exchange that I'm sure Noga is thrilled to make, but he will serve in here. I'm going to go after Liliana, and now Lossett's got the decision on what he wants to do.
I mean, I assume you just block here. Just trade off. It doesn't even matter what card you're trading for. Who cares? Just protect the Planeswalker, accrue the card advantage.
There's a copy of Land of War Elves. I'm going to pass that turn back. Lossett, he'll plus his Liliana. So a Fatal Push and a Dragon Skull Summon will go into the graveyard. A zombie will enter the battlefield here for Joe. Let's see what the follow-up is here for Lossett if he has one. The Fetid Pools enters the battlefield tapped, and Joe will pass with a Vraska's Contempt at the ready. So we're going over to Stephen Noga, who has already played 2 copies of Blossoming Defense. If you're Lossett, you're probably not going to play around that card very much moving forward. But now things start to get a little bit difficult here for Noga.
If he fails to be able to take care of this Liliana this turn, I think that's kind of a wrap here. Even if he does, if it's all of his resources, Lossett's still working with many cards in his hand. I believe he has a Torrential Gearhulk.
It did look that way.
Commit to Memory, I believe, might have been in hand.
And he's playing one this weekend.
Yeah, and that's just too much to overcome here.
Now keep in mind with the Oasis, for those unfamiliar, this is a land you have to activate at sorcery speed. You can't play it as an instant in combat. It might be too good if that were the case. So your opponent gets to see it coming. Going to target Land of War Elves, and now it looks like Land of War Elves and Greenbelt Rampager might be coming to the red zone here. And I actually kind of like this and not firing up the Heart of Kieran. It's so obvious that Joe has a removal spell here. You kind of want to leave your heart around because it's probably the best thing you have going on.
Yeah, I don't think it matters too much because I just don't think that Noga's beating a removal spell here. But yeah, I prefer to attack this way. With the Oasis, sorcery speed, it's not so much about power level as it is it's annoying.
Yeah,
it's already keeping track of your opponent's lands for their onboard tricks is just really annoying.
Yeah.
So,
Vraska's Contempt's going to take care of that Land of War Elves that was pumped by the desert, and of course you're going to have the zombie block the Rampager, and that means that Liliana's going to make it through the turn. And this is where you think we're at maybe the point of no return, Patrick.
Yeah, I don't think Noga's going to be able to come back from this position. It's also just so much power would come from free rolling that way. You have to play around their onboard giant growth, and your opponent never has to commit to doing it.
You're going to see Liliana bring back Nicol Bolas. This is the 3rd time we see the Elder Dragon. And now we could actually see the Elder Dragon transform right away now if Lossett wants to do that. But he's going to hold steady. Does have access to Torrential Gearhulk in hand. Rampager's going to fire up. Here comes Heart of Kieran. And I think you're going to see Lossett reaching for some mana there. And you can even see Joe's life total here. Very healthy 14. He's saying, you know what? I'll go to 10. It's fine with me. In case you happen to peel Blossoming Defense, that would be somewhat annoying. That'll be a forest that gets played. Now you want to talk about the coast being clear. Here is Torrential Gearhulk. This will be maybe a Vraska's Contempt once again. He also has access to Supreme Will in his graveyard, but he'll use Vraska's Contempt to take care of Heart of Kieran, get a little bit of life back, go up to 12. And now the world is Joe Lossett's oyster because he can transform Nicol Bolas if he'd like. He's got a handful of goodies. And this one will be a wrap here shortly.
Yeah, I'm just hoping that Noga holds on long enough so I can get Nicol Bolas the Ravager transforms. But yeah, we are thoroughly in garbage time at this point, and Lossett taking a little break here. Help out Tannen over in the middle seat.
You see Tannen versus Kellen Pastore. These players are playing a mono green Tron mirror. Joe Lossett with a top 16 finish with mono green Tron at Grand Prix Las Vegas earlier this year, and someone known for playing mono green Tron in Modern, been playing it for a very, very long time. So not a bad person to have to your left if you're Tannen Grace to ask a question or two, too. Lossett going to come in here for 9 points of damage. Noga's going to fall down to 11. And then are we going to see that transformation of Nicol Bolas? I'm hoping not, but it's hard to pass up on this situation here if you're Joe Lossett. All right, get that bingo stamper out.
Yep. And let's get this one on the screen.
We will take a look at Nicol Bolas, the Arisen 7 loyalty. You can plus it to draw 2 cards. You can -3 it like Lossett may do here in just a moment. Deal 10 damage to target creature or planeswalker. You can -4 it, put target creature or planeswalker card from any graveyard on the battlefield under your control, and then -12. Well, that'll be a game ender. Exile all but the bottom card of target player's library. So Lossett is going to use the -4 to get back Liliana. That's going to start with 5 counters. It's going to go up to 6 counters. 2 cards will be placed in the graveyard. Zombie entering the battlefield. Gonna be a tough game for Stephen Noga to win, as there's a Drowned Catacombs to finish the turn. Get in there. Yeah. Yeah, Greenbelt Rampager. I like it. No quit.
No quit. Gonna take a draw step.
That's right. Lossett with commit to memory and Vraska's Contempt in hand.
Not short. Not short on goodies.
No, he's got a couple things to work with here. Lossett looks like he'll plus the Liliana again. That's 1. And 2, Doomfall and Liliana will go to the graveyard. To Stephen Noga's credit, he does pick up a little bit of information now, seeing that there's a Doomfall in Lossett's main deck here this weekend, and a card that he needs to be worried about in general, especially for a deck that has Vine Mare in it. Might want to set things up a certain way. And you see Lossett's also picked up a copy of a main deck Negate here. So we laugh because it's very clear that Stephen Noga can no longer win this game, but a little bit of information on your way out the door, never a bad thing.
Yeah, it's, hold on for a couple more turns and just see what's in Lossett's deck. These Grixis mid-range style decks often have weird one-ofs, and if they come up in the games, Doomfall, for example, that's a good one to know about.
Vraska's Contempt will take care of Greenbelt Rampager, and Stephen Noga will concede the game, seeing as how he is DEAD dead. Joe Lossett going to win game number 1 here over Stephen Noga. As Grixis mid-range very quickly up a game here over Mono Green Aggro. You see there in the middle, Tan and Grace and the Mono Green Tron Mirror currently up a game over Kellen Pastore. And then you got Ross Merriam with Blue-White Stoneblade. He's your legacy player against Daniel Barkon playing lands. Those players still duking it out, appears in game number 1. We turn our attention to Stephen Noga's sideboard now, where you'll find 3 Hour of Glory, 2 Aethersphere Harvester, 2 Thrashing Brontodon, 2 Vivian Reed, a Nissa Vital Force, a Sky Sovereign Council Flagship, a Naturalize, that 4th copy of Vine Mare, a Lifecrafter's Bestiary, and then Vraska, Relic Seeker.
I'm guessing you want the Vine Mare along with the Planeswalkers here. Not the easiest card for Lossett to handle in Vine Mare, and then Planeswalkers and the Lifecrafter's Bestiary to play a longer game.
On the other side of things, too, you're also going to want, in my experiences in the matchup, you like having Hour of Glory, just so that you know. One thing, that when you have a Vine Mare going, one way that can really interact with you is blocking with Torrential Gearhulk. So being able to actually kill it is good.
Sure.
That, along with Thrashing Brontodon, are great ways to actually interact with. The only way that they can realistically get Vine Mare off the battlefield, outside of maybe that Doomfall that we saw as well.
Yeah. Is the concern that Thrashing Brontodon is just too bad against the rest of their deck?
I mean, 3 mana, 3/4 is not terrible. Get some beatdowns. I mean, I'm not excited about it.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
You know, it does actually kill Torrential Gearhulk, and ultimately, if you've got Vine Mare going,
nothing else really matters.
They really can't interact with it. So
Fair
it depends on how their sideboard's built. And then we're going to go to Joe Lossett's sideboard, and it looks like he's prepared a little bit for the Horsey. 3 Duress, 2 Chandra's Defeat, 2 Jace's Defeat, 2 Essence Extraction, 2 Vizier of Many Faces is a way for him to combat the Vine Mares, along with an Arguel's Bloodfast, Glimmer of Genius, Hour of Devastation, another way to beat that card, and then a Walking Ballista.
Yeah, the Hour of Devastation, the Viziers seem just fantastic for this sort of matchup. And it wouldn't surprise me here if he actually brought in the Glimmer of Genius, if he feels like he has enough removal, and if Noga's going to be settling up for a longer game himself with his various Planeswalkers.
Well, those are the options there for both players. They're shuffling up, getting ready for game number 2. We'll be watching that game in just a moment. But let's talk about our Season 1 Invitational champion. He is a soldier, is the Gulfport, Mississippi native. I almost missed that one, but he is from Gulfport. Is Aaron Barish. Got the job done our Season 1 Invitational off the back of Infect being a phenomenal choice in Modern, but also a standard choice, playing that more aggressive take on Mono Red with a more Wizard-centric build, able to play 4 main deck copies of Wizard's Lightning, and Gia2, the Wizard thing, whose name is escaping. Gia2 Lava Runner. There we are. I'll let you tell our viewers how they can get this token.
Well, any Open or Classic, beginning at the Dallas Open, August 18th, 19th, you play in any of those, you get one of these tokens. And if you can't make it out to one of our Season 2 Opens, any order from StarCityGames.com, $5 or greater, will be sent out with this token starting July 27th.
That's Aaron Barich. And now we take a look at our scoreboard. I've just been told that Modern might be tied up. It is tied up. Kellen Pastore must have had a really good Tron draw in game number 2.
Because it was fast. Because it was over fast.
And then, of course, we see Ross Merriam up a game here with Blue-White Stoneblade over lands. So, you see Joe Lossett having a chit-chat with Tanner before game number 2. Let's learn more about Joe Lossett, the 38-year-old, from Redlands, California. Well, we haven't seen him for a little while here on the SCG Tour, but when he was playing quite a bit, he was dominant with 22 Open top 8s, 5 wins, 2 invitational top 8s, and he won that 2016 SCG Players Championship. He signs, commemorates, and gives away playmats from all of his successful events, of which there are many. Twitch username Oarsman79, inspired by rowing at the University of Colorado. You'll also find that, of course, on Twitter as well. For Joe Lossett, member of Team Card Hoarder, very, very successful player no matter what circuit he's playing on. And it's great to have him back, though I was expecting miracles. Which must mean he must think it's not very good,
He must think it's bad.
Yeah.
That would be the only justification. Or Ross thinks that Stoneblade is particularly good, and that doesn't seem likely.
Don't say that in earshot of Shahid. He'll be very disappointed.
Sure. And what do I know? Ross is up a game.
Yeah, there you go. In a match that's probably bad for him, right?
I don't know. The lands decks, I feel like if you can fend them off for a little while and get Jace the Mind Sculptor going, that often outpaces their ability to get anything set up. And even if they can get something set up, if it's merit legible, you have Swords of Plowshares and Snapcaster Mages. Yep. So you actually have, I think, some legit tools for that matchup for fending off their ability to kill you while establishing a Jace lock.
Well, you actually did just mention some of the cards that Ross does have access to. He's got 4 Snapcasters and 4 Swords in his main deck. He has 2 main deck copies of Back to Basics.
Yep.
And he's got those 2 Jaces that we know are going to be looming in there. 2 True Name Nemesis, a card that lands can't get off the battlefield, really. So he's got some tools.
For sure.
He's got some tools in the matchup. I don't know about this Moreland Haunt that's running around in here, but, teach their own.
Moreland Haunt.
Yeah, that's a one of.
Got equipment, I guess.
Yeah, GTA and a Batter Skull, but it's Legacy. What do we do with Moreland Haunt?
Yeah, I don't know.
It might be good. I'm a little skeptical. But there you do see the scoreboard, and these players taking a look at their opening hand. Steven Noga will be on the play. He'll play a force and simply pass the turn back. A little difficult not having a turn 1 play here. No Llanowar Elves or a Greenbelt Rampager. But this deck generally gets started on the second turn of the game, and we are going to see him do just that. The question is how, and it'll be a Scrap Heap Scrounger, a great way to start things off as we head back over to Lossett. Let's start things off with a Canyon Slough, and now he will play a Drowned Catacombs. And Joe might be playing a copy of Argo's Bloodfast in the second turn of the game here.
Ooh.
Bloodfast, no joke. A lot of players that are in the know and Standard really, really like this card in all matchups.
Okay.
They really do.
I mean, it makes some sense if you think that even your beatdown matchups, people's sideboard plans are slow down, play with more expensive cards.
And one of the things I've actually seen with Argo's Bloodfast is when it does transform into that land, blocking with the Scarab God, sacrificing the Scarab God, getting your 5 life, rinse, repeat. That can be kind of a moat-esque thing where you're gaining life. So there are some tools there with Argo's Bloodfast in the Temple that are maybe a little bit surprising as you see new core set 2019, Superstar, Thorn Lieutenant join the fray here for Steven Noga.
Good against removal spells, kind of, and good in combat, kind of. There you go.
That's a good way to describe it. Kind of good at some things is the Elf Warrior. As Lossett's third land enters the battlefield tap, that was a copy of Fetid Pools. We head back over to Steven Noga. There is the Hashep Oasis. This is the easy part. Get in here for 4. Lossett looking at a copy of a Braid here. Excuse me, get in for 5. I take it back. Going to go after the Scrap Heap Scrounger. Be a good time for a Blossoming Defense. It doesn't look like he has one, though, to Steven Noga. Now would be an excellent time for a Vine Mare.
Yeah, coast is clear. And he's got 4 after sideboard.
And you see Kellen Pastore giving his teammate a little bit of help here. What's the plan? 3. Yep. Doesn't want to use the Oasis. Have to take a point of damage to use that one. It's a Steel Leaf Champion. Pass the turn back over to Lossett.
Not the worst news for Lossett is just anything that can be killed straight up with a removal spell. That's what he wants to see.
Now, if you are Lossett, you'd prefer to use a card like Vraska's Contempt right now so the Blossoming Defense doesn't deal extra points of damage. Joe accidentally still had his Nicol Bolas transformed in his hand, so he will now turn it around and play Nicol Bolas the Ravager. Trigger, make Steven Noga discard a card. Now, I don't know if you caught a glimpse of Noga's hand, but Noga does have a copy of Vivian Reed in hand. If Vivian Reed does work itself into the equation, we'll, of course, take a look at it. But what I can tell you is that minus ability shoots down a flyer.
Yep.
Be a great time to have a 5th land plus Vivian Reed.
Shoots down an enchantment, too. So,
can do that.
Yeah, pretty nice against the setup. And if the game turns into grind, you start plussing and finding more creatures to brawl with.
Galta going to be placed into the graveyard. A little surprised to see that in this deck after sideboard.
First card I would cut.
Yes. That thing,
unquestionably first card.
That thing's going to be hard to cast, and even if it resolves, it's probably just going to die.
Yep.
That's land 5. Here's Vivian Reed number 1. Bring it up. There it is. 5 mana, 5 loyalty, -3. Shoot down the flyer. Get in there for 5, 6, 7 points of damage. The second to fall down to 8. More importantly, he's in some trouble now because this is exactly what you want from a 5-mana Planeswalker in this matchup. Can take care of a problematic permanent and then start to generate a little bit of card advantage.
Yes.
I know once previewed, not a lot of players really all that excited about this card, and it's not the kind of Planeswalker you're going to play 4 copies of, Patrick, but there's some good things going on here.
Really, it just comes down to how good is the minus.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of Planeswalkers out there. If you want to spend 4 or 5 mana and draw an extra card every turn, there's no shortage of that.
Yeah.
What really matters is how good is the minus, and the format is reasonably well stocked here with flying creatures. A lot of the control decks play a healthy amount of artifacts and enchantments. You want a card like this for grindy matchups anyway, and so it's found a home. There's a lot of metagames where this card doesn't show up at all, but I think it's a good climate for Creeping Mold plus Kill a Flyer as a minus mode.
Not a bad thing to have around.
Yeah.
Creeping Mold, haven't heard that one in a while.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Very nice.
I guess Naturalize plus Plummet melded together. That's what you get, right?
Yeah, that's what you get. That's
Yeah.
what you get. Nicol Bolas again. And there will be a trigger. Goodbye, Thorn Lieutenant. Let's go back over to Steven Noga, who's without any cards right now, but he will draw for the turn. Land number 6 wouldn't be bad for Thorn Lieutenant, and this is the natural place to start by activating Vivian Reed. So take a look at the top couple of cards, see what he finds.
Yeah. This is a good shot at land number 6, and if he fails to find it, there's a creature there probably.
Ronus among the cards that have been found here. Unfortunately for Steven Noga, cannot take Hour of Glory. He has sideboarded those in. However, Ronus is pretty darn good, and if Steven did find a land for the draw step.
He's got Ronus activation plus play it plus activation.
Yeah.
Or Thorn Lieutenant, whichever one he thinks is better. I probably wouldn't go to Thorn Lieutenant here out of respect for Fatal Push.
Yeah.
I'd rather, spread out on a Steel Leaf Champion or whatever, but I don't think he has land number 6 anyway, by the way he's behaving here.
Now, what gets interesting here is here comes Steel Leaf. If you're Joe, you're incentivized to trade.
Oh,
I would think.
Yeah.
I would be shocked if Joe's willing to take this damage.
The reason to not take the hit here is if you think you need the Nicol Bolas to answer the Vivian Reed next turn and then stabilize the game some other way.
Now, one thing that does get interesting is it looks like Lossette's going to take this damage. 1, he gets the opportunity to take care of Vivian Reed. 2, he'll have the opportunity to transform his Argyl's Bloodfast into the Temple, which gives him another land drop, which gets him maybe it jumps him to 6 mana.
Yep.
If he plays land, it jumps him to 7 mana. Then all of a sudden he can transform Nicol Bolas. So some things do change here. So this will be curious to see now what Steven Noga wants to play.
I mean, he's repping 2 spells. There are a ton of incentive there for him to play land number 6. We know one of them is Ronus, but find out what the other one is maybe in a moment.
3 mana. There is Ronus. And now the great question is, what's that card that's left over in Steven Noga's hand? More importantly, he can return Scrap Heap Scrounger from the graveyard right now. So he's going to leave up that mana. You see the black mana that's available via the Woodland Cemetery and, of course, the Hashep Oasis. So Scrounger will be likely joining the battlefield here in just a moment. For now, Joe's going to transform that Argyl's Bloodfast into a land. So he's got access to that. He'll play Dragon Skull Summit. And it looks like he may have a copy of Hour of Devastation in hand.
I'm not sure if this line from Noga is in my opinion, preferable to just Oasis on Steel Leaf Champion, send both. He has to chump block your Steel Leaf Champion at that point.
That's a very good point.
And the issue with this line here is a sweeper plus a Nicol Bolas attack taking care of your Vivian Reed. You insulate yourself a little bit from that if Lossett is forced to chump with the Nicol Bolas.
Now, one of the things that's really interesting here, too, that's worth noting, is a lot of the time for the very stock Grixis mid-range decks, they may have Yahenni's expertise. Not a lot of players have moved towards Hour of Devastation just yet. Now, I think they will if Mono Green continues to be a thing because of course, Hour of Devastation is going to take care of Ronis, too.
I guess the other side of that line here from Noga is if he knocks Lossett to 3 and has the ability to get back a Scrappy Scrounger, it's asking a lot for Lossett to be able to Nicol Bolas to attack down the Planeswalker, plus answer the battlefield, plus have an answer for the Scrounger.
Unfortunately for him, he's got all of that.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like here. As you see, Nicol Bolas can take care of the Vivian Reed. Joe, assuming he has 2 red sources, which I believe he does, and Dragon Skull Summit and Canyon Slew, he'll say, I'm going to sacrifice this. I'm going to get my 4 life. I'm going to go to 7. Then, I believe Joe has the ability. I want to see, yeah, he can play the Hour. He's going to kill all the stuff, including Nicol Bolas. We'll take a look at Hour of Devastation. I remember when this card was previewed, players were very excited about it. Never really hit home all that much, but there is Hour of Devastation. All creatures lose indestructible until end of turn, so it can take care of gods. 5 damage to each creature and each non-Bolas Planeswalker. So now, Scrappy Scrounger is going to come back from the graveyard, and we see Steven very quickly untapping and drawing. Now, of course, there is a pathway to victory here right now, which is activate Hashtag Oasis and Blossoming Defense.
Any pump spell, yeah.
But it doesn't look like he has that, so Lossett's just going to fall down to 4. What's the follow-up? It'll be Vine Mare. Joe's in trouble again. Lossett will draw. You see his hand there of Negate, Vraska's Contempt, and it looks like a land. I can tell because of the horrific white border.
Makes it easy.
That's right.
Yeah. Lossett here very much drawing to Torrential Gearhulk, but not a whole lot else.
And Joe's got to see if he can try to rep that here.
I don't know. It's not like Noga's position gets better if he says go, so.
And I like this play here from Lossett. Looks like he's going to fire off Field of Ruin. Field of Ruin will take care of the Oasis, which he's got to do. So these players are going to search up basic lands. Of course, Steven's going to get a basic forest. Joe looks like he's going to get one of those revised basic islands. And it looks like he'll be able to hold on maybe another turn here. But as you mentioned, he really, really, really needs to find something like a Torrential Gearhulk on his next turn, assuming he gets to play another one. Vraska's Contempt, I think Joe might have some interest in casting right now, though he's not beating a Blossoming Defense. Well, he is actually beating a Blossoming Defense because he has Negate in hand. So, yeah. Okay, Joe's going to go up to 6. Scrounger's going for good. And he's got Negate at the ready for either a Planeswalker or a Blossoming Defense. So, all right.
We play on.
We do play on. Let's go back over to Steven Noga. Draw a card. Didn't get a great look. Looks like it may have been a Vivian Reed. You see the mana that's available. The Temple, of course, taps for black. The Drowned Catacombs is blue and black. Here comes Vine Mare. Get you for 5. Put you down to 1 from the Elemental Horse. The big follow-up. Gonna negate that. That's for sure. Great last card for Lossett to have. Big draw step here. He can turn this game around. Maybe that Doomfall he peels. Torrential Gearhulk. Anything there. I think it was a copy of the Scarab God. Which is fine. So you were maybe, at the beginning, I think, you were curious about what's going on with that Argos Bloodfest. Doesn't even activate it? You see it now.
Yeah.
You see it now. I only know this because this exact situation happened to me. Where I had a Vine Mare, my opponent has Scarab God with the Temple, and I was like, okay, great, I can keep knocking you down to 1, and if Joe just keeps drawing lands, then he gets to
Eventually he pulls ahead.
Exactly. Now, Steven needs to play something. I think he's got 2 things to play. These count as things.
Yeah, okay.
So now Joe's in trouble.
But he was on the precipice of being able to stabilize from
yes. There. Now Joe drew a copy of Liliana Death's Majesty. Now had Joe drawn a copy of Torrential Gearhulk, he may have gotten himself out of this one.
Or a cheap removal spell. He needed something either very impactful or something cheap so he can do 2 things.
Yeah.
Liliana doesn't count.
Yeah, I think he might be stuck now.
Right. He needed to be able to play 2 spells here or do something awesome, and he can't do either of those things.
Joe going to take a look at the graveyard here. He almost came back in this one. Joe going to look at his graveyard too now, see what Liliana can do. Again, remember the Scarab God can, of course, let him block something and gain some life, but it's not going to be enough. So Joe will take a moment and transform that Argyl's Bloodfast back to its original card and concede the game. So Steven Noga, Joe Lossett getting ready here for game number 3 as Mono Green Aggro going to tie things up here against Grixis midrange. You see in the middle, Kellen Pastore does take care of Tan and Grace and that Mono Green Tron Mirror. So the team on the left currently up a match. And now, of course, Daniel Barkon and Ross Merriam, they're tied 1-1 as well as Lands and Blue-White Stoneblade are playing their third and final game. We take a look at the sideboards here one more time, give you an idea of what these players are working with. Now you see Kellen kind of helping out Steven here. I did see, I believe, Hour of Glory when he did play Vivian Reed and look at the top 4 cards. So some number of those are in the deck. And, hey, it's worth even killing the Scarab God.
Sure. Yeah, that's a fine one to hit as well. When I see the list that have 8 black sources of mana and they're playing against Field of Ruin, bringing in dedicated black cards make me a little bit nervous.
Oh, it's a little greedy.
But there are definitely some high-value targets in Lossett's deck, no question.
You saw Vivian Reed show up. You have to imagine that Nissel Vital Force is in the deck. Another copy of Vinemare, so good in this matchup. Lifecrafters, Bestiary as well probably in the deck. I wouldn't be surprised to see Vraska in the deck too. And maybe Thrashing Brontonon, maybe Aethersphere Harvester. I think that's probably what they're consulting about. For Joe, his Hour of Devastation was great. I think you'll see Vizier of Many Faces because it can copy Vinemare. So
perfect card for Vinemare.
And maybe the Walking Ballista, the Bloodfast is there, maybe the Glimmer of Genius like you mentioned. But some good options here for both players. Doesn't look like Joe's swapping anything in or out, though. So as Daniel Barkon and Ross Merriam continue to play, and Joe Lossett and Steven Noga, they'll continue to play their game number 3 as well. We're going to talk very quickly about the StarCityGames.com newsletter. It's your source for Match of the Gathering news. And we got a lot going on there, Patrick.
Yeah, you can head over to go.starcitygames.com/newsletter and sign up for free. A lot of good information coming into your inbox once a week, including highlights from some of our best articles, upcoming SCG Tour dates and locations, Possibility Storm puzzle solutions, and you can find information about invitational qualifiers and game nights near you. Again, signing up is free over at go.starcitygames.com/newsletter.
Getting ready for game number 3 between Steven Noga, and Joe Lossett. Fun match thus far as we turn our attention towards Standard. Mono Green Aggro. You can blame Andrew Jessup for that, along with some players online. This deck's really starting to pick up here in Standard. Is it the best deck in the format? Maybe for this week, but for the next week, maybe not.
No, I think we're going to see a pretty healthy churn here in Standard of, just what are the threats and answers that people are playing and what are the incentives. And I think, there's a lot of mono green, play with a lot of removal. There's a lot of removal, play Esper. There's a lot of Esper, play red with Scrap Heap Scrounger. I think we're going to see that kind of rotation kind of over the next couple weeks and months.
Joe Lossett will be on the play here this game. He almost wiggled his way out of that one. What didn't have enough, and actually more importantly, Steven Noga had a little too much left in the tank there. So these players take a look at their opening hands. You see Tannen, he's got his attention on Ross Merriam's match. Kellen very much invested in his teammate here in Steven Noga, as he's already gotten the job done for his team. So Lossett will take a long look at his hand, and we'll see if he's happy with what he's found. This is generally a pretty close matchup. These Grixis mid-range decks have had to adjust. Mono Green brings some very powerful things to the table, and Joe did not find what he was looking for. So we'll see if Noga's happy with his 7 or not. Going to consult with Kellen here maybe, just to make sure he's happy.
The games are surprisingly, combat and keyword specific, given how much it appears it's just, the mono green deck is a pile of creatures. The Grixis deck is a bunch of removal spells, and you try to line them up the right way. There was a reasonable amount of combat and texture on the battlefield in the 2 games we've watched so far.
Yeah, those text boxes definitely matter. Hexproof mattering, the fact that Scrounger can come back, all that stuff. Not to mention the green deck, and one of the things I like about the green deck, they're not messing around. No. They are pressuring you. So if your land, maybe your 5th land enters the battlefield tapped, you might lose because of that, or some various other small things. You draw the wrong removal spell for a particular card. This green deck, it'll punish you by hitting you for 5.
So what would you cut here from the green side in this matchup? My instinct is cut Galta and cut Heart of Kirin.
Galta gone immediately. Some number of Heart of Kirins are gone almost immediately. And I don't love Thrash EB, but I want a couple copies. And sometimes I cut Llanowar Elves if I'm on the play because I don't need the advantage.
Sure.
And Joe looks like he's going down to 5. Yeah, he's got 3 Ronuses. Want to leave those in. I don't love that card in this matchup. It's fine, just because it's kind of hard to turn on.
Right. It's got the same problem that Harakiri does. It's just sometimes you don't have enough stuff.
Yeah. Well, Ronus is more difficult to turn on than Heart, just because like you want a 5-power creature.
Right, but the upside on Ronus is so much higher.
Yes.
But it's the same dilemma.
Yeah.
Like if he has a bunch of removal spells, this card's not very good.
Looks like Ross Merriam got the job done there over Daniel Barkon. So blue-white Stoneblade. Hey, Shaheen Sarani. Does win that match over lands 2-1, though no lingering soul, Shaheen. We do apologize for that. Ross powered up his deck a little bit, as now Lossett's on the mulligan to 5. Looks like Lossett will keep. These players will scry their top cards to the bottom. It's going to be a tough one now here for Joe on a mulligan to 5. Trying to figure out what land he wants to start with. And it'll be a swamp. Let's go to Steven Noga. Does he have a turn 1 play to make? Picked up a copy of Ronus. He'll play a forest and simply pass the turn back. Again, the mono green deck doesn't have to start with a turn 1 play like maybe a deck like mono red would, because they've got such good 2-drops to play.
And the ceiling on their cards is so much higher. You have individually more impactful cards. Your Planeswalkers, any creature that sticks hits for so much more damage than they do out of the red deck. So red deck has to get on top early.
This will be a Thorn Lieutenant. Pass the turn back. We could see Lossett fire off in a Braid, and if he does, that'll, of course, leave Steven Noga with a 1-1, assuming he does remember the trigger. Lossett's actually thinking about maybe cycling the Canyon Slough. Interesting stuff. And he will. So you would think on a mulligan to 5 that Joe would need some lands, but maybe not.
Well, he might need blue mana.
That's true. Well, he's just found blue mana. He'll pass the turn back. Well, Lossett. Thorn Lieutenant, not the most pressure. And not something you would love to kill, but here's an attack for 2. The follow-up is Heart of Kirin. Ooh, that's tough. No third land.
Really good news for Lossett.
Yeah. Yeah, this will be in a Braid on Heart of Kirin. Get that thing off of the battlefield as we head back over to Joe.
Honestly, that's a win for Noga. Getting to convert the Heart of Kirin into a real card from Lossett when he's on 5 cards is something at least.
Third land's got into the battlefield untapped, excuse me. It is a copy of a Blooming Marsh. This will be an attack for 2. Lossett's going to fall down to 16. Let's see what the follow-up is here for Noga. Steel Leaf Champion? Ronus? What's it going to be? It'll be Ronus. Essence Scatter will take care of that. Lossett keeping pace here pretty well. He'll draw a card. Wouldn't be a bad time for maybe land number 5 and the Scarab God. Instead, it's just a Vraska's Contempt and a passing of the turn. Noga's drawn another land.
This would be a great spot for the Bloodfast, too.
Wouldn't be bad. Some players going so far to say that Arguel's Bloodfast might be the best card in Standard. I don't know if I agree with that, but it is certainly a good one, as we saw in the last game, and it didn't even get activated in the last game.
Right. I mean, it's one of those, it can give you a huge edge to the control matchups, and if your deck is structured the right way with enough creatures, it can shut the door on aggressive strategies, too, with the right setup.
This will be a Ronus the Indomitable, and now Lossett has a Commit to Memory in hand, also has Vraska's Contempt, has to figure out exactly how he wants to go about taking care of this problematic creature. It's not on just yet, but it wouldn't surprise you if it were to be turned on, so here is Commit. And we will take a look at Commit to Memory. This weird split card, of course, from Amin Ket has certainly made an impact on the format. Rarely do you see the aftermath of Memory be cast, but the Commit half, you see Commit plenty. 4 mana, put target spell or non-land permanent into its owner's library, second from the top.
Honestly, it would not shock me here if Lossett's strategy was in part, or one dimension here is keep the board stable, play Memory, and then win with my cards being better than his cards.
This will be a Vine Mare.
All right, well, never mind.
Yep, that will.
that's no good now.
Yep.
Just, this could have been a game that shapes up where Lossett wants to undo the mulligan to 5 with Memory.
And it still could. One card that Lossett does have in his hand is Hour of Devastation. And he just drew the second red source there in Dragon Skull Summit, a timely top deck. So now if you're Joe Lossett, here's the question. How much can I get with it? I could take these 2 creatures right now, clear the battlefield. I know my opponent's drawing a Ronus soon. Or I can say, you know what? Maybe I can get to deploy 1 more threat.
That is so risky. You're just gonna. If he has. I mean, if he has the Scarab God, I guess it's a little bit different. I don't know. Yeah, I think trying to get more than this, I think, is pretty risky.
You're not going to take any risks there. So I'll take my 2 for 1, move on.
You want to be able to have if Noga doesn't have a turn here that amounts to much, you want to be able to go land number 6 memory. You want to, at least you want to have that option available to you. If Noga has any sort of battlefield, that's not an option.
Joe's going to play Dragon Skull Summit. His hand right now is pretty good. He's got Scarab God Vraska's Contempt.
Good, no rush. Then no rush to cast memory.
Yeah. Actually, we're getting to the spot now where Scarab God might start to flex its muscles.
Oh, yeah. Lossett's position's very good here. He's at 12, too. Even if Noga untaps and plays a lot of stuff and is able to get Ronus online, whatever, it's not like Lossett's just dead.
Yeah. Ross and Tannen looking to help out their teammate. Ross has done his job. He got the team a victory. Tannen unfortunately lost the mirror, and Lossett now trying to come back on a mulligan to 5. This will be the Scarab God. This is going to be a tough one here for Steven Noga. Let's see what Steven Noga's follow-up is. Now, you know he's got all spells. He hasn't played a land in a long time. He just drew a copy of Vinemare. So now Ronus is on, and Ronus is attacking. Of course, it is indestructible, is that god. Part of Joe probably wants to chump block here. But he might just take the 5, and fall down.
If your play the next turn is just recast the Scarab God, I think you got to take the hit and try to get out in front a little bit.
Okay. Let's go over to Joe now. Joe will draw. Picked up a copy of Argul's Bloodfast. All right.
There's a lot of demands on his mana, though.
Well, what gets interesting now is Joe has Vraska's Contempt Bloodfast in hand, has the ability to cast both. Part of Joe probably wants to go to that 5 or less so it transforms into a land to start the shenanigans. And he's got that Scarab God there in which he can do something along the lines of reanimate your creatures from your graveyard, block, sack, gain life,
right?
Things like that. This game starts to get a little bit more complicated now. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Let's go, baby.
Okay, no blocks, I guess.
We're going to see Vraska's Contempt right now. It's a great attack from Joe.
I mean, he can't block.
Yeah.
So
it's a great attack. Get your 5 damage in. Kill your creature. Go to 9. Play Bloodfast. You attack me. If you attack me, you put me to 4. Unless you have 2 Blossoming Defense, which I'm dead. I'm probably not going to beat that anyway.
Well, he only needs a land plus a Blossoming Defense as part of the range, too, because he has no Oasis.
He's got the Oasis hiding there, sure.
But still unlikely that this is... I mean, Lossett can certainly die here, but there's no way to cover himself. His hand's going to get forced on the Vraska's Contempt anyway, and it only gets worse if he's playing in the Blossoming Defense.
All right, I'm at 1.
All right. If that's all that Noga has, Lossett's position, I think, is quite good.
I think he's in really, really good shape now.
Yeah.
Now, remember, the creatures that he brings back from the graveyard, they're black.
Black, right.
They're black.
Yep.
Even if he brings back a green one, still black. Can't block. Now, Joe might be thinking, okay, on the upkeep, I might want to bring something back to get a little bit of help with the scry trigger, all of that stuff. Take a look at the Scarab God real quick here.
I don't know. If you've got a draw step to something really good that stabilizes this game, I think you want to give yourself that option. If you've got something like Torrential Gearhulk or Doomfall, I guess Doomfall, he has enough mana to make something and then Doomfall.
Yeah.
And at that point, you get the scry and it's really good.
Because you don't have to worry about direct damage.
Right.
Anything like that because your opponent's playing mono green.
So, like, what's one extra look at Doomfall versus cutting off Torrential Gearhulk as a draw worth? That's the question that Lossett's got to answer here.
Oh, that's the question he's going to try to answer now. He's going to figure out what card do I want to bring back from the graveyard. Now, one thing to note, too, I do want to give on the other side of the table, Kellen Pastore. He's very, very good at playing these kind of decks. He's very good at playing straightforward aggro decks. Sort of his specialty, honestly. He's got some top 8s with various things, top 16 finishes across Grand Prix and SC Tour events with aggressive strategies. Now, I didn't get a great look at what Lossett drew, but he doesn't appear to be all that happy with it.
Nicol Bolas.
Okay, well, that's going to go away. Joe will draw. Didn't get a great look at what that was. Obviously, this will be attacking. Now, I do want to take a look at the temple from Arguel's Bloodfast, but just want to ensure that you gain life equal to the creature's power.
Toughness.
And it's actually toughness. So he has to sacrifice the Scarab God and not, well, that creature is going to be a 4/4 that gets brought back. Yeah, so he's got to sacrifice the Scarab God. Now, if it's Blossoming Defense, the game is over, and it is. So, there you go. Stephen Noga did have it in the Blossoming Defense. Great sequencing there, and Kellen Pastore with an emphatic high five as his team of Daniel Barkon, Stephen Noga, and Kellen Pastore. That's lands, Mono Green Tron, and Mono Green Aggro. Going to get the job done here over Ross Merriam, Tanner Grace, and Joe Lossett.